Once upon a time, the Israelites were finally preparing to leave Egypt. They were persuaded by the Pharaoh to depart after God sent 10 devastating plagues to convince him. The plagues struck Egypt one after another, causing chaos and fear among the Egyptians. Despite Pharaoh's initial refusal, he eventually agreed to let the Israelites go to worship their God. As the Israelites hurriedly packed their belongings, hope filled their hearts. They believed they were finally free from their years of slavery and oppression. In Exodus 14:8, "And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh king of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel. However, he was furious that he had allowed them to leave and decided to chase after them with his army. Pharaoh commanded his soldiers to pursue the Israelites and bring them back to Egypt. Suddenly the Israelites found themselves with the Egyptian army chasing them from behind. They looked ahead and saw a vast sea known as the Red Sea blocking their escape route. Panic set in among the Israelites as they realized there was no way to cross the sea. They felt trapped with no apparent hope, despairing of their future. But then God spoke to Moses, saying, "Hold your rod and stretch out your hand over the sea." Moses obeyed God's command, raising his rod high in the air. As he did so, a mighty wind began to blow across the sea, causing the waters to part. The Red Sea divided into 2 walls of water, creating a dry path in the middle. The Israelites saw this miraculous sight and gathered their courage to walk through the dry path. They hurried across step by step, marveling at God's power and mercy. The water walls stood tall, shimmering under the desert sun as the people moved forward in safety. Meanwhile, the Egyptian army followed them, confident in their pursuit. They too entered the dry path, trying to catch up with the fleeing Israelites. God then instructed Moses, "Hold your rod again and try to close the sea." Moses stretched out his hand over the waters once more, and the sea began to return to its original form. The walls of water crashed down upon the Egyptian soldiers and their horses. The soldiers and their animals were overwhelmed by the rushing waters, drowning beneath the waves. The entire Egyptian army was washed away, leaving no survivors behind. The Israelites watched in awe as the sea swallowed their pursuers and remained safe. They fell to their knees and praised God, shouting for joy and gratitude. They thanked him for delivering them from their enemies and saving their lives. The Israelites continued their journey through the wilderness, filled with renewed faith. They recounted the miracle of the Red Sea, sharing it with generations to come. The story of God's mighty power spread far and wide, inspiring hope among all who heard it. Many years later, people remembered the parting of the Red Sea as a symbol of God's protection. They understood that with faith and obedience, even impossible things could become possible. The Israelites' escape from Egypt became a legendary story of divine intervention and deliverance. Through this miracle, they learned that God's power is greater than any obstacle they face. And so their journey to the Promised Land continued, guided by God's loving hand. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Bible stories every week. And remember, you are part of God's beautiful creation.